The adventure continues. Alien Earth, episodes 5 and 6. Only 2 more episodes after this. Schemes have been revealed. Stories have progressed to a point of no return. Let's dive right into it, and let's start with episode 5, titled In Space No One ...
Even that as a title is quite funny in itself.
Yeah.
And this is the big flashback episode. We got little teasers of this in episode 1. The crew of the Maginot, I believe it's called.
Yeah.
The crashed ship that has become sort of the central focus of the plot. We see how that situation developed and what maybe could have just been like the first episode of the series in itself. But they saved this for later on. And this is like... There's so many hallmarks of Alien and aliens in this one in particular. It goes back to what we said about that first episode when in the opening sequence, and it was like an AI recreation of Alien.
Yeah, just the look of the actors, the hair, just the overall vibe, the guys smoking.
Oh yeah. Those set designers have been hard at work.
Yeah.
Somebody's got some serious talent on the crew.
Oh, I mean, there's so many talented people on this production. We're not saying that's not the case. All our issues so far have been mostly with script and some of the performances. But Tyler, is this the best episode of the show, like some people are saying? What are your thoughts?
Is that, I feel like that's what people are saying. And maybe because it's the most action-packed or most gory, that's maybe...
It's the more alien-like.
Yeah. It reverts back to its classic, which is basically a slasher movie on a spaceship.
Yeah, it's a haunted house in space.
Yeah, completely. And is it the best episode? I still think maybe episode 1 is potentially my favorite so far. It's a tough one. This one has some decent elements to it.
I mean, episode 1 and 5 are the best, and this one I liked a lot. I was happy when I realized this was going to be a flashback episode. We start with tomorrow. It's what I hoped we would see, but didn't know if they would have had time to explore, given kind of like all the stuff that they were setting up. I was like, how are they going to have time to do a flashback episode? But they always have a flashback episode towards the end of a show in recent seasons of television, so
I don't know whether you saw some of the like reviews and maybe the marketing around this episode 5, because it got me quite excited for the episode, because there was loads of posts of people saying don't bring your dinner when you're watching this episode because it's disgusting. I can't remember. I'll share some of these the publications that were saying these things with you, so maybe you can add them into the review and we can oust those people. So I kind of had expectations for this one, and I suppose in those elements, in like some of the action moments, there were some good sequences, but the problems with character and story don't stop now that we've flashed back to a whole new bunch of characters. The same problems are still there, and I've mentioned it before, this is a crutch for the writers to use. The writers have to have stupid characters in the show because they find that so much easier to write, because your characters are only as intelligent as your screenwriter.
What's a saboteur? Is that a Frenchman?
Yeah, man, that engineer, he's supposed to be an engineer on like a confidential space vessel.
Yeah, they made him so cartoonishly stupid.
He's the dumbest guy ever, and he's even dumb. He's not just dumb to the audience, he's dumb in the universe of the story as well. There's a line in it later on when she says, this is your duty, and he's like, she said duty.
Yeah, he was confused about biology and geology. I'm like,
dude, you're an engineer.
I understand what you're trying to say, like you're getting this guy was probably desperate for a job, is in a situation where he shouldn't be, and he's gonna pay with his life, and that's sad. But the dialogue is so blunt at points, like they really want to hit you over the head with the character traits. Hey, look, this is the stupid character, and this is the horny character, and this is the weird character.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, I just don't get it. Yeah, like you said, the scene starts out with the horny character who wakes up Morrow, informing him that the captain is dead and he's got a fucking alien on his face, and everyone's so chill, and he's like, oh, and I'm also filming these people having sex, and I've been watching them.
Yeah, they're weirdly relaxed in the first 20 minutes of the episode, which was weird.
And you just said it earlier. You mentioned this is a really interesting premise. You've got this crew of It's a very small crew on this massive spaceship. You know, they've all sacrificed potentially their whole lives to go on this mission for some money, and that alone, getting into the motivations of each of the people, why they decided to undertake such a mission.
That could have been...
is a film or a series in itself. And there's so many things that we've mentioned throughout Alien Earth that could have been the central focus of a whole series, but they just touch on these things in a really superficial way. And it kind of ruins the motivations of the characters, and it kind of has ruined Morrow's character a little bit this episode, because we start to get these sort of seeds that he's a family man and he misses his daughter. But what family man
lives for 65 years?
And you're going to try and tell me that he misses his daughter and we got to feel sympathy for him. It's like, no, like, this guy clearly doesn't love his family. He went on this mission.
I thought, like, because we get glimpses of this in previous episodes, and I just assumed, like, probably we're going to learn about this tragedy in his past where his whole family died in some horrific way.
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
His daughter died, and then he had nothing else to lose, so Weyland-Yutani was like, why don't you go on this mission for us for 65 years? But then in this episode, we learned that actually his daughter died after he left for 65 years.
Whilst he was away. And he's like, I missed her. It's like, when you came back and see her, she was going to be an old woman anyway.
Oh, man. Sorry, before we get into all the things that I want to say about this episode, I wanted to say something nice up front, which is we never mentioned the title sequence. And I have to say, I kind of love the title sequence. It's always different with the clips it shows you. I love the wham at the end. It's very atmospheric. I think, it's a perfectly good intro sequence.
Yeah, it feels very classic.
And I was properly hyped because, we get this great intro sequence, and then immediately on Morrow, which has been my favorite character despite of all the problems that we've mentioned, and his investigation, and he's very blunt and straight to the point, and he immediately has this kind of like rivalry with his second in command lady who becomes the captain after the captain is killed by not by the facehugger, but by the doctor trying to remove the facehugger from his neck.
I would have loved to have watched that scene.
Yeah.
As the doctor continues carving through the facehugger as it's just melting through the face of the captain. He's like, nope, I'm gonna get it off, boss. I'll keep going. And he just lets it kill the captain, basically.
Yeah. Also, the effects, this gross out stuff are really cool.
The effects are great. But if you think about Alien 1, when they had that scene, we have it trapped onto, is it John Hurt? It's John Hurt's face, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's about solving the problem of how to get the facehugger off. And, they cut it a little bit, and that's when they revealed the acid. This doctor on this one, who's smoking cigarettes constantly in these like contained areas, and he's just carving through. I'm just imagining him with a massive saw, and acid is spraying everywhere, and he's like, don't worry, guys, I'll get this thing off.
Yeah. The characters are clearly not the smartest people, which makes less sense here compared to the first Alien, because the first Alien, they were supposed to be basically space truckers.
I know, and they were way more intelligent than these characters.
These characters that we are introduced to. So we have Morrow, we have this kid who I forget what his role was supposed to be on the ship. Then we have the two engineers, I guess, like the main older guy, and then the stupid guy who we mentioned before.
Yeah. The older Irish guy is an actor that I quite like. He's been in a lot of good stuff. He is such a, like, they've turned him into such a stock alien character. Like, he just complains about pay and complains about the working situation, and he's just a salt of the earth engineer type man. Like, he is trying to rip off those sort of, what's his name, Harry Dean Stanton's kind of character from Alien 1. Like, he's kind of like that rip off, basically.
Yeah, but it works. Archetypes work for a reason. In this case, you very quickly get the idea of who this person is, and you get him straight away. And he's a good actor, and he sells the dialogue,
he's a good actor,
even if it's not the best dialogue. And I can say mostly the same thing about the other characters. The doctor guy, Rahim, I think it's his name.
I don't know what was going on with that, guys. His accent was it was like fluctuating from like a few different kind of regions. It was a bit bizarre.
Yeah, I didn't pick up on the accent fluctuation I don't know, like at some point he had this line when they're talking about what to do, and the other doctor's like, any crew member who comes into contact with alien life forms are to be placed in cryosleep for the remainder of the journey. And Rahim says, which is 2 weeks, 3 days, and 6 hours for those of you not counting the fucking seconds. Like,
yeah.
Did you rehearse that? Was that a line that you were like thinking about? Oh, this is gonna sound very cool when I say it.
There's a lot of those in this show, like these like mic drop lines that you kind of have you looking around. Was like, oh, was that supposed to be epic or something?
Another character that we haven't mentioned is the character of Tang.
Well, so I mean, we also haven't. I thought you were going to mention the biologist lady first, who is the other sort of on board scientist who is a complete idiot as well. And we see her handling these specimens while she's sucking on a water bottle. She's got an open sandwich next to the container. You'd think there would be no food or drink allowed into these environments, but no, she just munch on a sandwich while she's handling these alien specimens.
And also, like, this bug just knows what a lid is and how to open it and how to...
It gets out of there so easy, doesn't it?
I know they're very smart, but they make a point of showing you that this canister locks with this circle lock. There's like a little hole that you need to close. And I was like, oh, she's gonna forget to close it all the way and the bug is gonna crawl through the little hole, which, you know, would have been very obvious. I'm not saying this is a better solution, but I felt like you haven't established enough about these big bugs that they are all of a sudden the velociraptors in Jurassic Park. It's like, oh yeah, this is a handle. The eyeball alien is very interesting. You know, you can see that it's very smart and it's kind of like trying to figure out the situation.
It was either like trying to distract her or warn her that the other alien was getting out the specimen. I've seen people mention that the Oculus alien or whatever it's, people have given it a name, but the eye alien is a goodie.
Is trying to be nice.
yeah. Actually, he, like, when he took over the engineer, he was warning the captain lady the Xeno was coming, and then he ended up getting in between them and like fighting the Xeno to protect her. I don't know. I didn't see that myself when I watched the episode, but I have seen people mention, they're like, oh, the eye alien is a goodie. I was like, what?
I was confused about the eyeball guy, and I couldn't figure out if it was just me being stupid or the show missing some moments that could make things clearer.
And I suppose that could be something fairly interesting. Like, I think we both said the eye is probably our favorite character now. in
the sheep, the sheep specifically.
yeah. Especially when he's in the sheep. But yeah, I suppose that could be quite interesting. That maybe like he relates to things that have eyes, so he wants to protect the humans from the Xenos, because the Xenos are eyeless.
Doesn't have eyes. Yeah,
he sees them as a threat.
Yeah, like I was like, when he was fighting the alien, like the Xeno at the end, I was like, oh, is it gonna attach itself to the alien? Like, and then we're gonna have like this weird hybrid Xeno eyeball guy where it's like even more dangerous or some shit like that.
But it goes nowhere.
It goes nowhere because it just stops attacking, and then we get the scene that we saw in the first episode of the lady being attacked.
And they never show the eye on the Xeno again, and that's just the end of that fight, basically. And then we pick up again later on.
I guess the eye was like, oh, there's no eye for me to remove here, so I guess my job is done.
Maybe they should have shown that. It might have been quite a little comedic moment, like the little eye like searching around the Xeno's head and was like, no, they just jumps it off. But hey, I don't know, that would probably be dumb. I would have probably hated that too. So, and then you were going to go on, so we'll keep going through the characters. You mentioned Tang, and this was one of the most confusing parts of the episode.
Oh my god.
Because in episode 1, we see Tang standing over one of the hypersleep pods, and he's kind of got his hand over the pod. And I garnered from that he was watching them dream, just like David did in Prometheus. He did that to Shaw.
The android character, I thought it was.
And somebody even says in episode 1 he's an android or he's a synth or something. So I assumed that Tang was a robot.
Yeah.
But in this episode,
he's clearly not.
in this episode, it's clearly not. And it's like, what? Am I missing something? You know, and I was watching it with my brother, and he thought Teng was an android as well. And then things start happening throughout the episode. I see him smoking a cigarette, and I'm like, well, synths don't smoke cigarettes. Like, you just don't have that as a character trait. And then we get him screaming in fear, like, later on in the episode as well, when he gets attacked. And I was like, okay, well, he's definitely not an android.
Yeah, I mean, I found him so annoying. What was the point?
It's a shame, because I've seen that actor in a few other things, and he's quite good as well. And
I'm
even
sure he
in
is.
episode 1, he's kind of quite interesting as well. Like, you only get him for a very small amount of time.
He's clearly, like, meant to be, like, the red herring. You know, he's the suspicious one. You know, when Morrow wakes up and you have a few of the crew members awake and you're like, okay, who is the person who is trying to sabotage us? Because they know that there's someone on board that is trying something. So, you know, he's supposed to be the person that in the first half of the episode, you're like, you know, any classic kind of like whodunit thriller setting, you're like, oh, that guy, he's clearly the one that
he's the
show is trying to tell you. He is the suspicious one.
Yeah, I thought maybe he was a synth that's been sort of somehow reprogrammed by Yutani, or, you know, something along those lines.
So you spend all this time waiting for him to be revealed to either be, you know, like an innocent weirdo or like someone who actually was trying to do something. But then he just dies. I don't get it. I really feel like they cut a bunch of stuff out of this show.
Yeah, there probably was. And because he dies off screen pretty much as well. And like you mentioned, the kind of basis of this episode is a not murder mystery, but the hook is finding out who the saboteur is. You know, that's the central mystery and the central sort of running plot in this episode. And the reveal is so terrible. It's like, oh, who's the saboteur? Who's the saboteur? And then right at the end, it's like, oh, it's this new character none of us even know.
Well, I mean, the actual reveal is that it's Boy Cavalier, the prodigy guy.
Not really.
I mean, yeah, because he's the one who orchestrated everything.
I suppose so, but it's like trying to find who the physical saboteur on the ship was, and it was just the head engineer who we haven't seen.
Yeah, and why would I care?
Yeah, we haven't even seen him in any scenes before. He was introduced in the moment they reveal who the character was.
Maybe we saw him for a split second in the introduction to the crew in the first episode, but that was like a month ago, so I don't remember all the faces.
But if it should have been one of the characters that we knew to a degree, like, you know, it should have been Teng.
Yeah, it's like, Boy Cavalier. You know, because then it makes sense that it's him, because he actually orchestrated everything for the ship Maginot to land on its turf so that he could steal the specimens from Yutani. You know, like, I'm not defending the show, but like...
Well, you steady on there, Tommy, because, you know, Boy Cavalier himself decides to video call the Maginot, which I'm sure, as we see Morrow, these records are very easily accessed.
It's very convenient.
And you've got video evidence of him committing probably like the biggest crime of the last 100 years or whatever. And why not, you know, have your assistant or maybe someone else make that phone call? It's so dumb.
But then people would be like, who's that guy? I don't know. Well, you know, maybe if you establish that like the older bald man, like he's his second in command, like he's like not a public figure and no one know who he is. He works in the shadows. Like maybe you could have done the same scene but with him, and then you could argue, oh, no one knows who this guy is, but we know that he works for Boy Cavalier, so we know what's happening.
Yeah, it would still be dumb. And I've also seen another criticism of it, that, you know, Boy Cavalier is like, what? He's like 20. He's like in his early 20s or something. Yeah. And the mission, they set off them the mission many, many years ago, before he was even born. But he somehow knows about it already, and they're out in deep space and is able to send a video call to retrieve this stuff. Honestly, people, the writers don't care about consistency or sense or anything in this show. So what, I mean, yeah, a really disappointing reveal. You didn't introduce this character really at the beginning of the episode, and if that's going to be the reveal...
I mean, you introduced him in the larger show. It connects the story back to what we are witnessing in the present.
But what do you mean? I'm talking about the engineer, the chief engineer guy, the guy with the mustache, who is the actual onboard saboteur.
Yeah, he's not important. He's just there to do what Boy Cavalier wants him to do. So like the reveal...
Yeah, that kind of does make him important.
Yeah, but like the reveal is Boy Cavalier's involvement, because he was feigning ignorance up until this point, even talking to Yutani on the phone. I'm not saying that this is incredible storytelling. I'm just saying it makes sense within the story they're trying to tell. This is the logical thing. Oh, cool. He's not taking advantage of the situation by robbing Yutani of this specimen. He wanted this specimen and he orchestrated everything so that the specimen would get to him. So I think, that makes sense, honestly. If it was Tang, it would have been a bad reveal, because who cares? He's a character that we saw in 5 scenes.
But as in,
he's gonna die anyway.
But I mean, not just it being Tang, but it's Tang who under the orders of Prodigy still. It wouldn't just be one of the characters on board.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Or develop the other character who we haven't even seen.
Exactly. Have him be the one who wakes up Morrow, and have him be the one who's telling about the situation gone wrong.
Or maybe the kid that we kinda like, who's kinda nice, even though he films people having sex, he's the informant or whatever, and then Morrow is like, I kinda liked you, and now I have to kill you.
Somebody who's had some actual screen time, perhaps.
Yeah, no, I get you.
But no, I'm with you. The review, Boy Cavalier's involvement should be how it is. I kind of was theorizing that maybe Yutani did it on purpose as like a biological weapon to drop in Prodigy's like headquarters or something, and it turns out it's kind of the opposite. But yeah, there should be some corporate espionage involved in this, and it's good that it's gone in that direction, but the steps they took to get there was stupid, I thought.
Yeah, it's questionable. And I have an issue with the sequence of events. And again, it feels like they've removed stuff from the show, because, okay, so we have the reveal that Boy Cavalier was behind it. Morrow finds these convenient video logs that kind of like tell you everything that you need to know. Then he finds the saboteur, and then there's this shootout. The kid character, he dies. And then Morrow manages to shoot the other guy, or like he kills him. Like he stabs him with his cyborg fucking sword. Then they show, like, because the eyeball alien was there, which was a nice ramp up in tension when they tried to hide inside the lab, and in doing so they released the eyeball that was locked inside before.
You just reminded me of that bit, because they run back out like that. The female captain lady and another one of the characters run back out of that room, and they're like, "Oh, we'll deal with that later."
Yeah,
they just leave that open and never mention of it ever again in the rest of the story.
There's a lot of miscommunication or lack of communication in this show in general. There's a central thing in next episode we're going to discuss that really bugged me.
Oh my god, yeah. People love to leave container doors open in this show.
But what I wanted to say is that the eyeball alien, we see it escape the lab, and then we see the saboteur's body, I forget the name, it was such a memorable character, on the floor, and the eyeball alien approaches the body. But then the next scene with the eyeball alien, it has taken over the Irish guy, the Irish engineer guy.
Yeah.
So we're clearly missing a bit here. Like, okay, what happened in the middle, I guess we don't need to know, but it's weird that you are hinting at the eyeball taking control over one body, and then you show it control a different body a minute later. Like, it feels like there's something missing.
Maybe you're right. Maybe this was cut to shit, this episode in particular.
And that's why the ending feels a bit underwhelming. I don't want to sound like I'm complaining just for the sake of it. I mostly enjoyed this episode, to be honest. Like, it was entertaining TV in a classic kind of monster movie type of way. It's not profound, it's not life-changing, but it was decently entertaining. But the Xeno itself, like, because of the second half, it's just like very action-packed and like, classic Alien. But I don't know, like, man, the Xeno, I don't know if it was just me, but it looked kind of bad.
Yeah. It took not only did it take a proper backseat to the rest of the other specimens in this episode, but yeah, it doesn't look good. There's a couple times when, more so than it ever has, maybe since Aliens, when you see a couple of the guys in costumes in the background when they do like the big mass of Xeno shots.
Yeah, it really feels like guy in a suit.
Yeah, there's a couple shots when it's standing in the corridor, is looking left and right, and it's like, oh, this really looks false. Whereas, I think that's one of the credits we've given the show. For the most part, the Xenos looked pretty damn good throughout. But yeah,
and it's not the first time aliens have looked unconvincing on screen. Alien 3, It was also bad,
Yeah.
but it was almost 30 years ago, and the
Yeah,
movie
that
was
doesn't. You can't
plagued
even.
with it was plagued with production issues, so I don't even think it counts. I'm just
It was
saying.
stop motion over practical over CGI. That was never gonna look good. That one.
The way it was lit and shot, or maybe even like the texture of the alien suit itself, it made it look really fake a lot of the time. Here, the difference between the guy in a suit scenes and the clearly CGI scenes where the Xeno is jumping around and doing stuff that like a guy in a suit cannot do realistically. It's literally night and day. So very noticeable practical stuff that doesn't really look that good in my opinion.
Yeah. And a little bit of a disappointing, we get the reveal of what the leeches aliens do.
Yeah.
Because they attach themselves to one of that's it, he drunk. The stupid idiot guy drunk all the tadpoles when he was choking on his hot sauce or something.
They were really proud of themselves when they did that, didn't they? Like when they made you think that the doctor lady was going to drink the water.
For a second thought she was going to drink it.
Oh, it's the other guy.
Whoa. But then, yeah, he obviously swallows the things and they're all in his body and they open up his chest. And, again, the two doctors, the two smartest people on the ship, are operating on this guy with no mask, no form of containment on his body. And they pull one of the leeches off and it releases this toxic gas, which kills both of the doctors. And it's a bit like...
It doesn't kill them right away.
Well, they bleed out of their orifices, don't they?
Yeah, but wasn't it the captain lady who kind of like pushed the button and released some sort of gas?
No, they were dead. She was containing because it obviously had become toxic in that room. I think that was just like a filter to shut down the room. Like they were dead. They were dead from that toxic.
Oh, that makes the scene so much worse.
Yeah. See, they are bleeding out their eyes, nose, and mouth by the time they hit the floor, and then she contains the room, like seals it, and it sprays it down with maybe like a disinfectant sort of thing.
Okay, so because I kind of liked that scene because she was so shocked, and this is the moment where Moro kind of like takes advantage of her humanity, I guess, to take control. It's like, oh, you're not fit to command because you're clearly in distress, so I'm going to take control.
He's exactly right as well.
And he's right, but I like that because I was like, this lady clearly is not fit for the role she has in this situation, and the show is acknowledging that. She's a human being who just lost a person that she cared about. We don't really know much about them, but we know enough to be kind of like, oh, that's nice. And I felt like in that moment she was like making an executive decision of killing these people inside the room to contain this thing.
Oh, no.
And then she was shocked because of the guilt that she was feeling. But then she was just shocked because these people died. I was like, okay.
She was just shocked because scary thing happened in front of her.
Okay, so it's way dumber than I thought.
You should know this by now, Tommy.
I was giving the show too much credit. Okay.
And then it wraps up and we're back to the end of, all the sort of the beginning of what we saw in episode 1, back up to a present day timeline at the end of the episode.
Yeah, Moro is back on Earth talking to Yutani and getting ready to get the specimen back to the rightful owner. So before we go into episode 6, I guess, what's your grade? What number do you give it?
This is probably a 4, maybe a 3, 3.5.
Oh, you gave 4 to way worse episodes, man. I don't like your scale here.
I think I gave the last episode a 4 as well. And I mean, I don't think
this one's better. This one is like, okay, the script is still dumb.
I don't know whether it is, man. I don't know whether it is.
I don't know. I found it so much more enjoyable than everything else I've seen so far. Maybe because it was just like a classic alien setting.
For me, episode 1's still the best. This is, still below average. Great visuals still, but script and characters are atrocious, and I can't see past it. Yeah,
okay, that's fair. I don't know. I think it deserves a solid 6. It's a decent hour of television. I thought it was entertaining, and I'm not saying it was a masterpiece, but it was enjoyable. It was a decently plotted, self-contained.
Oh, is it not a masterpiece?
It was entertaining for me. I don't know.
Hey man, no, each to their own. A lot of people were loving this show.
I mean, I'm not loving the show. And we're gonna get to that because now we're going to talk about episode 6 and the whiplash I felt going from episode 5 straight into episode 6 because I waited. So I watched them back to back yesterday. You know, the difference in my enjoyment between episode 5 and 6 is significant.
Now, see, for me, there's not much change from 5 to 6. I feel like we're kind of towing the same lines. We got a couple nice sequences that I like.
I mean, you know, the episode 5 starts with Morrow waking up and a guy telling him that the aliens are loose on the ship, which is already a nice hook.
And he's watching people fuck.
Exactly. Here, on the other end, the first line is Boy Cavalier literally reading Peter Pan again.
God.
So, you know, I was already kind of like over it the second it started.
Yeah.
This is the worst episode of the show so far for me. I was baffled by so many of the decisions that they made. So yeah, personally, I think they're not on the same level of quality.
It's a shame as well because, you know, the episode's titled The Fly. There was another specimen that we hadn't really got to see yet. We haven't really seen what the wall-hanging tentacle thing does yet either, but there's this fly creature that we've barely seen other than like in little shots behind.
Big penis bug.
Yeah, behind glass. So it's like, okay, cool. Maybe this is going to be a central episode focused on this and it'll be like a villain of the week, sort of monster of the week type story. And I thought maybe, yeah, it's a similar thing where we just get this creature unleashed upon the lab and he's going to cause absolute mayhem. And I was like, okay, cool. Maybe we're going to get some annoying characters out of this show finally. And it doesn't really deliver on that premise again.
Yeah. Okay. So I think let's start with what I liked. It's going to be a short list of stuff. The effects when the big bug that you just mentioned vomits acid on the lost boy. I thought that was cool.
Best bit of definitely best bit of the episode. Probably one of the highlights of the whole show.
Yeah.
Like I said, I said to you offline before that me and my brother literally cheered when that sequence happened. We were like, fuck yeah, finally. And, you know.
And poor Toodles.
We're really rooting for the specimens in this show, I've found.
Poor Toodles, I guess that's his name. But that was a cool fucking shot.
Is it just me or have we only just heard this guy's name in episode 6? Because I was like, wait, Toodles? I was like, is that his name? Okay.
I don't remember. Like, I remember because they said it a few times in this episode, so it finally clicked. But like, I can't remember most of these guys' names, unfortunately. But another thing that I liked the Xeno. The new Xeno, I guess.
Oh, the cute baby Xeno. That was my first.
We never saw that stage of Xeno development before because we always see it as a little baby and then as a full-fledged.
We've seen sort of
like in the
I guess
middle
teenage
Xenos. Like second stage evolution of a Pokemon kind of.
In Covenant, they were kind of in that, like there's a scene in the long grass when they're being attacked by some kind of younglings.
Aren't those just like different types of Xenos, like the white ones?
It's hard to say because there's like a Neomorph or whatever they call. There's different types. Neomorphs in Covenant, and so maybe they are just completely different. But you'd feel like at this point
looks
we're
slightly
seeing...
different here.
Yeah. They always look a bit different, don't they? They're kind of inconsistent
because it was birthed by a lung, in not a full human, I guess.
Okay,
it was kind of like lung colored. I don't know if that was.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I kind of forgot that detail. But yeah, very cute Xeno. This one. Hopefully they'll make a lot of money on little cute Xeno toys.
And Wendy's like, oh, maybe this one is good. You know, like the other one was evil, but this one is gonna be nice. And I'm really curious to see whether this is Xeno.
I mean, that's obviously what's gonna happen. She's gonna be able to control that Xeno, and I reckon we're gonna have a good Xeno versus bad Xeno battle later on.
Oh, okay. Well, is it gonna be the one that is birthed from the scientist guy?
Probably, yeah. And there's another Xeno in containment in the ship as well, isn't there? So there's two. There will be like two proper Xenos around, and then her little Xeno.
Is there a third xenomorph? Right?
Yeah, because there's a scene in this episode where we're looking at one of the containers, and a massive like full-grown Xeno drops out from the ceiling and like comes down into frame.
Oh, I thought it was the same Xeno that Wendy's talking to. Is it a different Xeno?
No, it can't be the same one unless it's grown now.
They have more facehugger eggs as well.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. So I think there's maybe like one already about on the ship. But yeah, that's what I think is gonna happen. Like Wendy's gonna become like a queen mother and be able to like control this little Xeno, and it'll like it'll save her at like some crucial moment in like the final episode.
That has potential to be kind of cool if they do it well, which they won't. But also something else that I liked. Speaking of Wendy, I liked her little speech that she gives the doctor lady about renouncing humanity and the fact that she's like starting to feel like she's above all the squabbles of mortals, I guess.
Yeah.
And how she's getting away from Joe, and I don't know.
Like, she's had quite a quick arc just in this episode, you know. I'm pretty sure at the beginning of this episode, Joe is with her and he's like, we want to go home. Like, I want to, you know,
find a way to get you out of here. Assuming that she wants to leave.
Yeah, and she's like, no, what if I want to stay? And 20 minutes later, she's like, this place is abhorrent. I want to leave.
Yeah. But before we go into Joe and Wendy and all that stuff, I wanted to briefly speak about a scene that happens at the very beginning, which is the arbitration scene with Boy and Yutani.
Oh my god, yeah. I wanted to go into this too, because this fucking scene, man. Boy Cavalier is potentially the worst character in the whole of the Alien franchise. I'm trying to think of maybe there's somebody in Romulus, but the annoying British guy.
Oh, come on.
It might be up there.
There's something in the fucking water.
Yeah, that guy's a competitor. But yeah, I don't know whether there's another one that's as bad as him, to be honest. Like the way he walks in. I also thought we were going to get an introduction of a new interesting character, because we get this shot on the ground of his feet walking in, this barefoot, and he's wearing like, they almost look like inmate trousers. So I was like, oh, there's somebody from like a prison who's getting released, and they're going to be introducing of a new character.
And how disappointed you were.
I was like, oh no, of course, Boy
up.
Cavalier is in his pajamas, because he always wears his pajamas. And then he gets up and puts his dirty bare feet up on the table during this board meeting.
For the joy of Tarantino.
Yeah, and they start having discussions about, financially how they're going to deal with the Crash Maginot ship. And he begins crawling on all fours across the boardroom table towards her. And I was like, please, director, cut to a massive wide shot so we can see how ridiculous this scene looks, and have him squatting on all fours on this table in this massive wide shot.
And they knew that was not something that people would have enjoyed seeing. No, it's very annoying in this, and it's supposed to be, I guess, it's either like it needs to grate on you that this guy deserves to fucking die in a horrific way.
He could be threatening and serious as a villain, and we would still enjoy his death, and he would be more of a realistic character, like Burke was in Alien 1, was the human villain of the story. And he's not an idiot character. He was a weasel, but he was like, he wasn't a complete buffoon like this guy is, and super quirky. And he's like, oh, look how quirky I am in every scene.
Yeah, and the whole deal that they do is a bit dumb, like, because Yutani offers him money, right? By the way, like $20 billion, that's a stupid number. Come on, like, that's too much money. Like, that's insane.
Why do they want these specimens so much? For 20 billion, they're going to pay for these specimens. They don't even really know what they do yet.
It's 50 at the end.
I know,
because she raises the stakes. But like, Boy, at first, he says it's not about the money. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. What can Yutani give a trillionaire? A man who has literally everything. Like, it's cool to see this sort of negotiation, because he doesn't need those $20 billion. He already has so much money. So I was like expecting a battle of wits of some kind.
Why would you expect that?
Because, I expect the television I consume to be entertaining and good and well written. So no, this, she's trying to get the specimen back, and he wants to keep them as long as possible, which makes sense since we found out in previous episode that he is the one who orchestrated the Maginot crash. But again, like at the end, she's like, oh, $50 billion, give the aliens to me now. And he's like, okay. I was like, wait, what happened to, this is not about the money. I know that he actually wants, he's gonna keep them like in quarantine or wherever, like, but at the end of the day, he's taking the money from Yutani. Is it just out of spite? I don't know, like it wasn't clear to me.
It's not about the money unless it's double what you offer, then it's about the money.
Exactly.
Even though I'm a trillionaire and 20 bill is probably not that much to him anyway.
Another dumb scene, probably the dumbest fucking scene in the show so far, which is saying something, but I was so mad at this. And I know that you know what I'm talking about. It's the sequence with Nibs.
Yeah.
So context, we know that Nibs was acting weird in previous episodes. She was saying that she was pregnant with a baby. She was traumatized by the encounter with the eyeball alien on the ship, and she was acting really weird and she was dangerous. So Boy decides that it's a good idea, since she's acting so weird, to remove her memories and her trauma so she can behave normally again.
And adjust her personality settings in...
Yeah, and of course this leads to, an altercation, and the lady doctor agrees to do it, but the husband doctor the scientist man, it doesn't want to do it because he says, we're gonna alter her personality completely. This is not what we signed up for. So he gets fired, which, leads to something else down the line in the episode, and they do the procedure. And we see like this procedure taking place, and we see flashbacks of what happened to her and her trauma and all the things that she was saying. This stuff is slowly disappearing from her brain. And then the next scene after this is Nibs waking up from the memory-erasing coma she was in. Like, she's literally just waking up, and Wendy is there, and she proceeds to tell her all the things that she just forgot in the previous scene.
Not only that, she proceeds to tell her literally all the sequences that flashed in the visuals of that. They tried to visualize the losing of the memory. Yeah.
Don't you remember? You said you were pregnant, and then you were traumatized by the eyeball alien, and then you did this, and then you did that. And I was like,
she may as well have said, don't you remember in episode 3, scene 5, when you said this thing?
Oh man, okay, how are people defending this show? I mean, I understand enjoying it. You can enjoy this show. I do enjoy parts of the show too. And I understand hating it because I do hate parts of the show. Oh my God. But defending it, like some people are doing, like it's this flawless masterpiece that no one is understanding.
I know.
Like this was a terrible moment. Like this is just bad storytelling.
And this is, if anything, is the element of the show that is getting defended the most. Well, I've said before, we share the reviews around, and we hear a lot of people saying, comments and sending things back. A lot of people have vehemently defended this show. And when you ask them what is the main thing they like about it, and they love the fact that it's exploring this, what is humanity and what it means to be human, and what the difference between a synth and a cyborg and a human. And it's like,
that's what I love about it too. That it's not explored well.
It's not, it's not doing any of that stuff. It's like, give me one example of where it delves into that stuff really detailed and not in just a small fleeting moment, something that's actually a through line for a character or a plot. It's not doing any of that stuff. And as soon as you nitpick or even, sort of slightly analyze these scenes,
this is not a nitpick, man.
This doesn't, no, I don't think so either. I think it doesn't make sense.
So much of the stuff that we've mentioned, if you enjoy the show, you can be like, oh, that's just a nitpick. Oh, you didn't like the look of the alien suit in episode 5. That's just a nitpick. I liked it fine. That's fine. That doesn't detract from the enjoyment of the show. But this, what kind of excuse can you come up with for this? This is just bad. Like, you establish something in a scene and you undo it in the following scene. And I'm sure they had a better development for this planned, and maybe it was shot and hit the cutting room floor, or maybe it was scripted but never shot. But the end result is
contrived.
It's jarring.
It was contrived to give Wendy motivation to leave. It's purely contrived to give her that push. And you should be able to weave it in better. Something, Nibs has been quite a central focus of so many of these episodes so far, and just to gloss over, like you said, have one scene where something happens and completely just go against it in the next scene. And it's like, do these really intelligent people not think, they go, oh, we'll drop her back in the room with all the other synths, and that they won't speak about anything that happened for the last week?
Just tell them not to mention the fucking car, like shipwreck and whatever. Like, express this out loud, because they're not gonna read your mind, bro. Like, what? This is so contrived. I was screaming at the screen. Well, I wasn't screaming. Internally, I was screaming.
Yeah, there was a bit. I kind of thought it was a bit later on, but it's actually, I think, after we see, the opening scene is baby Zeno playing with Wendy, and then she has that conversation that we mentioned with Joe, where Joe's kind of saying she should leave, and Wendy saying that she shouldn't, and they have this mic drop at the end of that scene where they have a music cue that comes in. She says a line, it's supposed to be like, boom, that's going to hit Joe really hard, that she wants to stay or something like that. Yeah. Or she's kind of like sympathizing with the Xenos. It's like, well, they didn't choose to be here either. And then it boom, drops into Alt J Tessellate.
Which is a great song.
And man, I love that song too. And I was like, what the fuck is this doing in Alien? I was just thinking, if I was like a creative director on this show and somebody pitched, I think we should use Alt J Tessellate in this episode, I'd be like, you're fucking fired. You don't understand. You don't understand this franchise at all. Get out.
Yeah, no, there's a...
Because it was so weird. And like you said, I love that song, but it doesn't fit this at all.
The needle drops are starting to get annoying, especially because they're always the same kind of needle drop.
Yeah, there's two awful ones in this episode, obviously that one I just mentioned, and at the very end there's a needle drop, and it tracks in on the sheep, like, and drops that hot, like, heavy music. It's like, boom, yeah, the sheep, everyone watch out for the sheep.
Yeah, it feels like they just want this cool moment that sounds cool and feels cool, but it's actually really empty. It's kind of like in episode 3, I believe, we've mentioned this in our review, when they return from the mission and there's this...
Oh my god, the guitar montage sequence. Yeah.
And it's like, what is this doing here? This is just padding. Like, you're literally trying to make the episode longer, and so you spend 1 minute on this montage of people coming back from whatever.
And they're doing shit like that, but we're bringing up all these points where we're like, oh, it feels like a scene's missing here, or they've maybe cut too much of this scene here, or cut a bit of this like a plot B story out. And it's like, but you're filling up the fucking show with these long montage sequences of music, and it's like, this is not as epic as you think it is, honestly. Did you ever watch Twin Peaks The Return, season 3?
I actually haven't. I know it's a big mark of shame. I will have to rewatch everything one day, and I will.
Yeah. I mean, I love Twin Peaks, and that was something Lynch brought in to The Return, season 3. There's a lot of needle drops in the show, like, in moments in the story, and at the very end there's like a sort of needle drop, and we go back to the Roadhouse Cafe. There's always like a live musical performance, and it's just like, if you watch how they do it in that, the music is all very apt to the feeling and the sense of the show and the world of Twin Peaks. And it's like, that's somebody who understands, the world and the universe they're in, and the music choices.
But that's Lynch. Noah Hawley,
I know.
I don't think is as good as Lynch. I don't know. Maybe it's a controversial opinion.
Of course not. But it's like, I'd done my bloody research, and and I'm sure he loves the Alien films and the Alien franchise, which is why I don't know why he thinks that this is okay to do what he's been doing.
I mean, so many things can go wrong in production. I don't want to blame it entirely on him, but
he might not have the say when it comes to those music choices. But yeah, I don't know. It's something that really is jarring in the show, and I don't like it.
They gave him a Spotify playlist. It was like, okay, fit these songs into the show some way. We had these deals with the production house.
Market research says Alt J Tessellate is popular with the kids today. We got to put it in episode 5.
I don't think Alt J is the one that is really, like, bringing in the views from the Gen Z viewers. So I don't know, but also. Going back to kind of like the plot of the episode, and I know we've been harping on this point since the very beginning. I think you were the one who brought it up, and at first I was like excusing it a little bit, but now I'm fully on board with you. Are we really meant to buy that a bunch of children are the only people in this fucking facility taking care of these aliens?
Yeah, man, that's what they want you to believe. And it's like, this company that makes synths can't make some adult synths, or just, some normal synths like Kirsch to look over these things.
There's no guards in sight except for Joe's friends, who they send to patrol the fucking jungle. Who's gonna come for you from the jungle?
Which is exactly where they not need to be. They need to be in the lab.
I usually, honestly, man, we were discussing nitpicks, like, this is not a nitpick. Like, I usually excuse lapse in logic. If something is not 100% believable, especially in a sci-fi setting, I'm willing to look over it. If the story is interesting, if it's trying to say something powerful. Here, I can't fucking help it. Like, the setups are often so obvious. The decisions people make are so inexcusably stupid that I find it hard to focus on the good stuff, which is there, but is buried under layers of contrivance and bad writing, and you end up not enjoying what you're looking at anymore.
Yeah, for sure. I think there's one scene that I kind of liked in this episode, and it was a scene where Kirsch and Morrow are in the elevator together, and they're kind of they're talking about murder, and it's like, oh, Morris says the best thing about murdering synths is that they don't feel pain, and Kirsch claps back with saying, I would have thought the best thing was that you do feel pain. It means you're human as a cyborg. And I was like, oh,
that was a good scene.
Yeah, that was like the one good scene, and I was like, for fuck's sake, again. And I feel like vice versa, the good stuff really highlights the bad, and the bad kind of bloods over the good.
Yeah. Because even then I was like, this is a very cool scene with two great actors really getting the most out of an okay script. But even then, like, some of the lines were a bit blunt, and I felt like they needed a little bit more polish.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. It's the actors who are doing all the work here. And like we said in the scene with Morrow, which is probably, I don't know, one of the best scenes in it, when he's plugged into the machine and he's speaking to Slightly and the other guy, and Kirsch is there, and it's his performance is just selling this very average script.
When he's a machine, not a machine.
And we have, like we said, we're talking about the plot. Most of the synths, the kid synths, have now developed to the point where they're not super annoyingly stupid and childish. Except from Smee and Slightly, who seem to have regressed as the show has gone on.
Smee has a scene here that's just like so cringe.
They're the only two that are just like still complete idiot kids, whereas the rest of them have kind of developed in intelligence to a degree, and they just want to use Smee as like complete comedic relief.
And Curly too, which was introduced, like developed a little bit in episode 3 and 4, and she was interesting, and then she disappeared. Well, of course,
completely disappeared.
Episode 5 was, of course, a flashback episode, so she wasn't there. But like, she's barely like in one scene when Toddler, I was gonna say Toddler, Toodles.
he may as well be called Toddler.
Toodles is asked by Kirsch to go to the lab, and she wants to go with him, but then he was like, oh, I'm cool, I can do it by myself. That's the only time we see her this episode, so I don't know how much she's gonna do with 2 episodes left. I thought she was like one of the more interesting Lost Boys, but she's not doing much. So yeah, like, well, we've mentioned Toodles being destroyed.
But this scene, let's just go into a bit of this scene, because it was terrible, man. He goes in. First of all, he kind of like breaks the feeding hatch thing.
Yeah, which made no sense.
Which is also dumb. And so he's like, okay, I'm gonna have to go in physically to feed the fly creature, and the sheep is in there with the eye on it. And he goes inside backwards first, like butt scooting his way into this like confined cage. And he leaves the door open for so goddamn long, and he's taking ages.
I mean, they're building tension. I'm fine with that. We had similarly stupid scenes in good alien movies too. I'm not too fussed about that. It's not the best. I agree with you, but I don't know. Like, I was looking forward to see this new alien creature and see what it does.
And yeah, the sheep. Well, I suppose the sheep isn't a goodie then, I guess, because the sheep like headbutts the door or something, and like it knocks Toodles into the cage. He falls down. We get the full shot of the fly alien thing, and he's got like a weird elephant trunk on his face. And
it wasn't a penis?
Or a penis, yeah, I suppose so. And it flies and lands on his hand, and what does Toodles say? Oh, good boy. And then it spits venom all over his face. And like we said, best scene, good practical effects as his face melts.
Oh my god, that was so cool. And like the practical Toodles with the face melted that we see later, that was well done.
That looked even better when the doctor's trying to drag him out. But if you're thinking about, like, one of the big hooks of the show is having these other specimens and the cool things that we can do with them, and we'll come up with some interesting ideas.
And they're just acid blood again.
Exactly. We have a leech that sprayed toxic fumes. Boring. Like, come on, you can't think of anything better than that. And now we have this thing that basically shoots acid just like the Xenos do, and it's not as cool or interesting.
Yeah.
And there is a sort of funny scene that I suppose I liked it, towards the end. Like, as you mentioned, the 2 doctors who are managing all the kid synths have the argument. The wife decides to stay. The husband gets fired, and he has 24 hours to leave the island.
Actually, until the end of the day.
Till the end of the day. And so later on, we see him packing up his things in the lab, and Joe comes over to chat to him because he's saying, I want to know whether Wendy's safe.
Another bad scene.
Another really bad scene. As he turns slowly, looks into the camera and says, no, Wendy is safe. prodigy people who are listening to me right now. And he turns off the trackers for all that. And whilst all this is going on, Toodles is dead in a cage that is surrounded by cameras.
No one is checking.
Nobody's noticed. And the worst thing about this scene is that they show the camera and somebody watching on the monitor like 2 or 3 times. So it's like, okay, so someone is watching clearly. You've highlighted that, but they haven't seen that one of your most precious pieces of specimens, the synths, is one of them is dead right now. And so yeah, we get Joe convinced, that he turns off the trackers, and I can't quite remember how he slightly comes into the room and he's like, oh, actually,
no, it's a good scene because Slightly is
trying to convince Joe to go into the room.
First he tries to convince Joe and he fails. The other soldier guy coming in and be like, oh, come with us and do patrol with us. And Slightly is like, oh, fuck, I need to find a guy to impregnate with the fucking facehugger. He knows that Morrow will kill his entire family if he doesn't do what he asks. And he's just slumped over on the floor next to the lab. And the doctor guy gets there and is like, oh my god. It falls into his lap, basically, which is the only way it would have made sense for him to realistically be able to pull this off. So I kind of like that.
Yeah, it was a ridiculous plan. And so, he takes the opportunity and he's like, right, okay, I'm gonna, whilst you're helping Toodles and the doctor's trying to drag Toodles again so slowly, and he leaves the fucking door open again. He leaves the door open to the specimens. And you're like, okay, it made a little bit more sense when it's Toodles because he's a dumb kid, but now you're doing it to your smart scientist guy. And that's when Slightly decides to release the face huggers, and we get this scene when he traps the door, leaving the doctor inside the lab. And it's quite funny, the face hugger's creeping around in the dark, and the doctor's kind of cowering against the door, and all the other aliens are watching along behind their cages. And we were like, right, we're watching the best at work here. That's what all the other aliens are thinking of. But that's what we were joking. We were like, right, get your popcorn out, guys. This is how a real alien does it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And then Slightly goes into the lab, grabs the scientist by the legs, carries him through the lab and into a human-sized air conduct at floor level.
I don't know why you would need a ventilation system that big on the floor, but
so convenient to crawl into and just disappear with the guy that you need to escape the facility with, which was another example of just terrible writing. Just find another way, please. How am I supposed to buy this with no questions asked?
It should have been like a trash, like a rubbish chute, and they both go sliding down, and they both go wee, and they land right outside. I'm joking, obviously.
I mean, that was actually I was picturing it.
That's the kind of bullshit Willy Wonka logic that is in this fucking show.
Oh man, it's again, because I kind of like this scene. I like how Slightly is so worried about not being able to pull this off, and then kind of the opportunity falls into his lap at the last second. And then I like the scientist guy who we've been shown time and again that he's a nice guy, and he's actually worried for Toodles. He's a nice man trying to do something good, and he pays the ultimate price, which in a different show would have been very effective, especially because we had kind of this misdirection of Slightly trying to get Joe, and then all of a sudden we are pivoting to this other character. So, on paper, again, this could have been cool, but then you ruin it with all these contrivances, and I just stop enjoying the show and I start questioning the logic behind it.
I know, yeah. And it kind of, it's like, well, what was the point in delving into the dynamic and the drama between the husband and wife scientist? He's dead now. We never got the resolution to the conversation that they cut away from.
It's so that you feel bad about it.
Right, well, I feel so bad when I was rooting for the face hugger to wrap itself around this guy's face.
Oh my god. Man, everyone comes and goes like nothing in these secure labs. That there's no alarm system. We have Kirsch.
Yeah, Joe just walks in to chat to the head scientist. You're like, why is he allowed to just come into this place again?
You got Kirsch monitoring the CCTV.
I told you Kirsch has ulterior motives.
Yeah,
because he, remember he was monitoring the conversations with Slightly and Morrow, and I was like, he's not reporting this for some reason because he's got ulterior motives, and clearly he's watching all this chaos go down and letting it happen.
Yeah.
So clearly, yeah, he's got some ulterior motives, and he's going to be bad robot.
I mean, again, Kirsch sounds interesting to me. Maybe it's just Timothy Olyphant's charisma, like, but I don't know.
I think that is it, because he's not had some like great lines necessarily. It's just him, Timothy Olyphant.
Yeah. What else? I like the sheep at the end, kind of like looking at us and being like, "Oh, get ready for next week."
That made me laugh.
Yeah,
And not in a good way.
I thought, that was a tongue-in-cheek moment. We know that it's kind of ridiculous, but it's also kind of creepy, and we'll play with that. But yeah,
the only other thing I just had, we went past that. We did mention the scene with the soldiers, with Joe's friends, the soldiers who are still on the island. They've been recruited to sort of be extra security. And it's this one guy who's another idiot character, and then the other girl. And, the guy's like, you tiny gonna be pissed. It's like, oh, great. Another idiot character who's supposed to be a soldier. And he says to the girl, he's like, oh, there's monsters here. Why would you want to stay here? And she's like, well, at least I'll know where they are. Or at least I'll know, she says. And he goes, at least you'll know what? And she
where
goes,
they are.
Where they are. And again, it's like this mic drop epic moment. It's like, well, yeah, of course, we all know where they are. Like, situationally, they're over there.
What are you talking about? Have you eaten today? That would have been my question.
What are these lines?
Yeah, no, it's strange. This show... It's so
dumb.
Okay, yeah.
It is, man. It really is.
It has these sparkles of like redeeming qualities here and there, and then it immediately squanders them with some dumb scene, and I'm like, okay, why am I even bothering with this? So
well, we're in it now. We're in it. There's only two more episodes.
Home stretch.
We're definitely going to finish it off. And we said before when we started covering this, even if we knew it was going to be bad, we're still going to watch it till the end, because this is what the Alien franchise has done to us.
Yeah, I mean, we are used to being disappointed, I guess. So, what's another show?
But what would you grade this one then? Because you really didn't like this episode.
Oh man, this one was the worst one so far, for sure. A few moments that I enjoyed, but mostly I was left questioning the writing and the decision making, and I don't know. It's probably a 4 for me, probably less.
Yeah, fair. This one might go down to a 3 for me. Yeah, it was not many redeeming factors in this one at all. And like I said, I'm rooting for the specimens and the Xeno, and it probably shouldn't be like that.
You think so?